Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio, so today I'm here to tell you that unfortunately, when it comes to Prismatic Evolutions, it looks like the good times are over. Seems like we might have hit rock bottom with Prismatic Evolutions, and things are now on the up. But this does come with a very important caveat. Because remember the other day, I told you about the fact that we actually had a bunch of restocks of Prismatic Evolutions doing the rounds. We had, for instance, ETB restocks in Walmart and Booster Bundle restocks over in Target, and even that Sam's Club, Lucario, and Tyranitar box was actually coming back around again as well. The point I'm making here is that yes, it absolutely looks like the good times might be over, and I'm going to show you a whole bunch of stats and stuff in a minute, but I just want you all to remember at this stage, things can change, and just because singles prices are finally starting to go up and stay up, that doesn't mean you're not going to find the occasional drops of Prismatic Evolutions. Things are still happening when it comes to that set. Things are still coming out. It's not over till it's over, but we need to have a look at some of the singles prices here. So take, for instance, we might as well start off with a big dude, the Umbreon, the one that I inexplicably pulled two of from an ultra premium collection. And no, I'm not lying or exaggerating, and there's literally a video on this channel where you can watch it happen, where I prove it. I show my working, because I literally recorded it happening, and it was bizarre. And for a while, and I do need to sell the second one, because I don't need two of them. I really don't need two of this card. And for a while, the prices were going down, going down, going down, going down, and it kind of looked like I'd missed my opportunity when it came to that card. It looked like if you were trying to maximize value, well, maybe you've kind of missed your chance because it keeps going down. It was a card that started off at about, let's call it about 1,600, and then just fell steadily until it got to about 840. And the low point here was really kind of beginning of September-ish, when it hit about 840, and now it's very much on the rise. Now it's worth pointing out it has not gotten back to that 1,600 mark, but it has steadily risen up to about 1160, and we've seen this with the big cards over and over again. When they start going back up, generally speaking, that is about it. When you actually have this sustained down period, followed by a sustained up period, it's only been about 6 weeks, so maybe it'll turn around again. Usually this means the good times are over, the prices are going up, and there's not a whole heap you can do about it. Except cross your fingers and, hope. Hope that they go back down again. So it looks like my laziness in not selling my Umbreon may pay off after all. I don't know. I'll probably still end up too lazy to actually get around and sell it. But the point is, we've seen a pretty significant jump in the space of about 6 weeks. This card has gone up by over $300. That is over a 1/3 jump in the space of about 6 weeks. We're not talking about a slight tick upwards here. We are talking about a significant turn up. What about some of the other evolutions that you might find rocking around? Well, the number 2 was always Sylveon. And yeah, same kind of thing, unfortunately. Once again, we see well, this was more kind of late August rather than early September, but same kind of time frame. It's a card that starts at a ridiculous 600, comes down but then goes back up to 560, drops down to about 300-ish at its low, and now it's up to 390. Again, we're not talking about a small tick upwards here. We are talking about, well, this isn't quite a third, it's a little bit less, but it's still a pretty still a pretty significant jump up in a very short amount of time. That is usually indicative, like I say, of a set which is going up. Now, the number 3 card in the set is your Leafeon, and after this is going to get interesting. We'll get there in a minute. But again, Leafeon shows the same thing, and this is another important point here. When all of the cards in the set, or at least a significant number of them, are all doing the same thing, that generally means we've got a proper trend going on. If it was just the Umbreon or the Umbreon and a couple of other cards, we can look at that and go, okay then. But it's just a couple of cards. Maybe we don't read too much into this. Problem is, it's not just a couple of cards. This is a little bit of a trend happening with a bunch of cards, and that kind of tells you what you need to know. The Leafeon starts at about 440, goes down to 350, actually gets up to 460, goes down to a low of about 210 at the start of September. Now it's up to 280, which is very roughly about a third. You are seeing a little bit of a pattern here. Might be a tiny bit more or a tiny bit less, but generally speaking, it's about a third in the space of about 6 weeks. Since the beginning of September-ish, most of these cards have gone up by about a third. Maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, but the time frame is about the same on all of them, and the jump is about the same on all of them. Now, one thing I find very interesting, the number 4 card in the set, it's not an evolution. And when I say that, those of you that have been paying attention, following my videos closely, will probably be able to figure out what it actually is. It is a Shinji Kanda Roaring Moon. Now, this one is a little bit more pronounced. So here, 2 things are going on. Number 1, the same as I just talked about with the evolutions. We are seeing we've hit the bottom of the market in Prismatic Evolutions. The market has bottomed out and has now started rising. That is one of the 2 things we are seeing here. But that's not the only thing we're seeing here. This is also an element of Shinji Kanda cards are going nuts lately. And we've seen this with a bunch of cards. Obviously, we saw it with the Magikarp from Paldea Evolved. That was the first one that started getting really absolutely silly over the top. But even more recently, we saw it with like the Seismitoad from Black Bolt and White Flare from that double set. It started happening in that as well. And I did a video about this a few weeks ago. Shinji Kanda has become the one artist in the Pokemon TCG who can basically dictate the price of cards, who can make the price of cards spike up just by virtue of being the artist on the card. And you can argue about whether they should be the only artist that can. That's absolutely fine. It doesn't matter, though, because regardless of your opinion, they are the artist that's doing this. They are the singular artist that is actually able to do this, and at this stage, it is a pattern we can't ignore. And the Roaring Moon has been a big deal for a while now, but essentially this is just accelerating. So yes, it's going up by virtue of being from Prismatic Evolutions, but it's going up more than the others because Shinji Kanda as a whole is spiking. This one got as high as $300-ish, dropped down to $135, end of August-ish, and has then risen to about $280, $300. Yeah. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a ridiculous spike in prices. And don't get me wrong, there is a reason for this, and it is partly because it's a Shinji Kanda card, but that's not the whole story. It is following the Prismatic Evolutions model. If we just do a bit of a speed run of some other evolutions, have a look at Espeon here. Now, that's only gone from a low of 200 up to 235. So you're talking less than a 20% rise there. But again, you're talking about the same time period. And even though it is a smaller rise than some of the others, make no mistake about it, it is still at about the end of August, beginning of September, taking a noticeable dip upwards. dip might not be the right word, but I've said it now, so we're going to roll with it. We can have a look at Leafeon, the other one I pulled from that ridiculous Ultra Premium collection, and that's gone from a low of about 165 up to 190. A smaller jump to be sure, but it's fair to say still a noticeable jump. And obviously, the lower the price of the card here, the smaller jump it can make, and even percentage-wise, don't get me wrong, it is a smaller jump. But these are all following a very similar pattern. And the pattern essentially is Prismatic Evolutions, at least for now, has bottomed out. And now the prices are starting to rise across the board. How about some non-evolutions? How about Ceruledge? Now this one is also slightly unfair because Ceruledge as a whole has actually become very playable, and this is interesting because a spike from a low of 90 up to about 130, that actually happens mid to late September rather than early. But with the advent of the new set Mega Evolutions, that has actually made Ceruledge a lot more playable. It's as good as it's ever been in the Pokemon TCG. And this is like the only fancy version. The regular set version, because it was in its own deck, never actually had a fancy version. So for that reason, we are actually seeing this one jump a little bit later, but it's still following the same pattern as all of them. This one, yeah, it's pretty high for that reason. And I'm not saying it is every single card in the set. My point in this video is not every single card in the set is jumping up. That is not the point. The point is, we are starting to see a significant number of them following a very similar pattern. And what that basically means is, it seems like if the good times aren't over, they are definitely ending. And look, there have been restocks recently. There could be more restocks coming up. This is not some kind of guarantee or anything stupid like that. But as I tell you guys, I'm following this stuff pretty closely. I'm keeping an eye on basically all of these sets all the time just to have a look at what might be happening. And it seems pretty clear at this point, we are seeing a fairly sustained, fairly clear jump up over time. So there we go. That's what's happening. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me which of these cards you've already picked up. Tell me if any of these cards are ones you haven't picked up and you're now starting to think maybe you should have. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel, like the lovely Kanto Royalty, who's been a supporter of ours for a long time now and seems to be a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.